And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody, on a Thursday, December 11th, 2014. Welcome into the show. Hope you are having a good evening, as it were. Certainly appreciate any of you who are tuning in. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your December evening, December the 11th. If you've got questions for us or our guests, you can always tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3hoops.com, or Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Time to chat with our final guest of the evening, and it's probably a school that hasn't really been talked about all that often in basketball. Certainly starting to change the perception, though, I would say, and especially in the skyline right now, I think everybody's looking at Yeshiva wondering how dangerous exactly are the Maccabees. So we figured we better get them on the show now and talk to them after a big win over Purchase a couple nights ago and a looming game against Purchase just a couple nights from now. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline now is Coach Elliot Steinmetz. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time. 7-3 start on the season, 5-1 already in Skyline Conference play. You've got wins over Gallaudet and Hunter, St. Joseph's of Long Island, win over Old Westbury and Maritime and Purchase and Mount St. Mary. You do have losses to Connecticut College, CCNY, and Sage. Mixed bag in there, but some impressive wins for a program that last year was 7-18, year before that 11-15, year before that 5-20. I mean, you guys are kind of trying to retool what you're all about.
Yeah, well, I think there's certainly been excitement about the new program, and we were able to really come in and get jump started, and I think a lot of that certainly is attributed to the newness and the excitement of having something new going on. That said, we have guys who are really buying in. They're working hard, and they're showing up every day early to practice and staying late and shooting, and then they're seeing the results early. And I think that's building confidence, which has been certainly fun to watch.
Your first-year head coach, we should point out, got hired back in April to take over this program. This is your alma mater. Played 3 seasons of basketball for the Maccabees. What's it mean to take over your alma mater, to try and move it forward as a program?
Well, it's an honor in a lot of ways. I mean, I was lucky enough to play for Coach Jonathan Halbert, about 99 to 2002, who was there for about 42 years before me. He was certainly a legendary name in New York basketball and somebody that I've always looked up to. And it's he built this program from the ground up, and I'm just fortunate and honored and in a way awed to have the opportunity to try to bring it forward.
When you look at what you had ahead of you, what was your simplistic goal for this season?
It was probably just 500 and try to see what we can build and see what we can bring in coming up next year. We didn't have a lot of time, obviously, to really recruit and retool this year, and we were trying to bring in a little bit of a new system, change things up, and play a different style, and kind of see if we could attract some new talent to come in and join us. And it's certainly been a very good start.
Yeah, it's certainly a good start. I mean, when you're hired, you don't get a huge chance to recruit. You get a little bit of recruiting in there. Obviously, Yeshiva in general brings in its own style of players. You're being a Jewish school, kind of like a Hope or a Calvin or a Messiah, which has a specific demographic you're looking for. Some of the recruiting is both taken care of for you and out of your hands. How is that? How do you broach that? I mean, are you specifically looking for Jewish players to come in? Do you have the option to do more than that? What is your shtick, as it were, for lack of a better description, to get recruits and help move this program forward?
Well, I think when you have something like that where you're to a certain extent restricted, like you said, in your demographic, you can look at it obviously in 2 ways. You can look at it as a disadvantage or a benefit. Mm-hmm. I try to look at it as a benefit, and I look at it as we have a niche world where we can really pull players from. There's an entire league of Jewish high schools in the metropolitan area. Mm-hmm. There's an entire world of Jewish high schools across the country that I think are not really tapped into by a lot of schools, and maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot a little bit, opening up the world to them. But the opportunities there to find certainly Division III caliber players, and over the years there have been some Division II and Division I players coming out of those schools as well, is something that we really, I think, have an advantage to get to, being that it's a Jewish school.
This team certainly has a lot of depth in sense of years. You only have one freshman on the squad, a number of sophomores and juniors, and a handful of seniors. You're led this year already by Shelby Rosenberg, 18.5 points a game. Benji Ritholtz at 17.8, 10.5 from Michael Berg. You're getting already a lot of contributions in some big games for you guys from these players. It almost feel like a shot in the arm for the program?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we're certainly getting out and running. We're definitely putting up our share of shots, and it's funny. You look at a game like last night. We played last night, and we put up 78% field goal percentage in the second half. You look at the rest of the numbers and who's scoring, and it almost just follows with. But we've been shooting at a high percentage, and probably won't last forever. But I think first time around the league, we've kind of surprised a couple of teams, and certainly some very good coaches in our league. And second time around, I'm not really expecting it to be. I wouldn't call it easy first time around, but I imagine it'll be even harder the second time around.
And obviously, with the holidays, you have to kind of put a lot of games early on in the season. But I find it interesting, you guys get a very good win on December 8th against SUNY Purchase, a team that's certainly depleted with injuries. I've seen them twice, but they're dangerous at the same time. You then get to face off against them 6 days later. Granted, you got the win on the road. They got to come to your place. That's a little quirk in the schedule that not everybody would see in conference play. How do you kind of get used to the fact that you're seeing a team twice in a week?
Yeah, that's not easy. I mean, it's obviously gives them certainly a quick turnaround, and they'll still have that taste in their mouth, which is not going to help us. They're going to be that's an angry group probably coming in on Sunday, and it took us playing a real good game up there. It's a very talented and well coached group, and it took us playing a really solid game up there to really come out of there, with the W. And yeah, I mean, Sunday it'll be right back at it, and if the game goes the same way, it can obviously fall out on either side in terms of the result, but it was certainly a fun game to be a part of, and a little bit of back and forth at the end, and it's a good quality win certainly for our program this year. And
of course, back that up with the win against Mount St. Mary. Again, you're going to take on Purchase on Saturday. When you look at this Skyline Conference, I know you're familiar with it, but you're new to it in the coaching realm of things. Mount St. Vincent's on top with Sage. Then you guys are sitting right there. Of course, you played most of the games because you're going to have a chunk of time up here where you can't play any games, so a lot of this can change. But to start 5-1, to put yourselves in that spot for the first 6 games of the conference, that's got to be really reassuring when you look at the second half of the conference schedule.
Yeah, no, it's a confidence builder, and I think it was important. We came in with a system in mind, and I brought in an assistant coach, Yogev Verdugo from Florida, who really is one of the best I've seen in terms of skill development, and it's really allowed our guys to take a step forward in terms of their skills and their confidence, and I think we're playing with a certain amount of confidence right now that hopefully will carry through to the second half. And I think it's really been the reason, the commitment that the guys have had, and the work ethic, and the ability for them to show up and buy into what we're trying to give them. It got them off to the start, and hopefully the confidence kind of flows through to the second half.
Obviously, with your scheduling, you have limitations. Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown. You can't even play. Hanukkah, you certainly can't play on. I find it interesting. You'll sneak a game in against Lehman on the 16th before. No, you're playing that after sundown on Hanukkah.
Yeah, we can play it. Hanukkah, we can play.
Okay, but you don't play another game until so that's December 16th. You don't play another game until January 22nd. Tell everybody the reason behind that big gap.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with more so with school than it is with holidays. It's they have a very Yeshiva is a top 50 academic program in the country, and they have a very rigorous final schedule. So we certainly are trying to avoid killing them during the finals and their breaks. Obviously they have a very, very small winter break at Yeshiva because of the Jewish holidays that come up in different times of the year. There's a long long Jewish holiday break in October and another one around March or April for various holidays where there's just no school. They can't have any classes or anything. And because of that, they have a very short winter break where they're literally only getting 10 to 12 days off for winter break. And I think they try to avoid having games during that time so that they could actually have some time off.
I was going to ask, though, you go 5 weeks between games, though, December 16th to January 22nd. How are you going to keep the team kind of rolling along?
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. We kind of restricted their break a little bit in terms of the team, and we're going to certainly practice through finals. It'll be a little bit of a modified schedule. We will do the best we can to get some scrimmages going in practice, and keep the guys fresh. And for the week or so that they're away, we'll have a mandatory workout program, obviously, for them to follow. And hey, these are the cards we're dealt. We don't complain. We'll turn around and do the best we can with it.
Yeah, 12 games before the holiday break. That's a lot more than most people play. That's half your schedule in the first few weeks of the season, and before turning around and having a little bit more of a more modern schedule, as it were. Second half, you just have those 5 weeks off. Do you dare look forward? Do you dare look ahead and go, hey, we started 7-3. We're 5-1 in the conference. We might be able to do something special this year. Do you dare do that, or is this one game at a time?
It's one game at a time. I mean, we got purchased on Sunday, and we're very well aware of what they can do. I look at our stats, and we're giving up 74 points a game, and we got to figure out a way to make that lower. And we're shooting the ball about 50% from the field, but we're turning it over 15 or 16 times a game. And I'm saying to myself, if we can knock that down by 5 or 6, that's another 10, 12 points we could be scoring. So there are a lot of little things I think we need to clean up before we can even think that high of in terms of the results and in terms of a goal.
What do you hope you can accomplish as head coach of this program in the long term?
In the long term, the goal is like anywhere else. You want to make it. You want to win the skyline. You want to get to the NCAA tournament, and eventually you want to build a program that can compete for a national championship. And those are lofty goals. But if you don't start somewhere and you don't have something to aim for, then why are you there?
Yeah, certainly true. How much can you fall back on your playing days?
I was lucky enough to play for Coach Halpert, so I think there's a lot that I can draw from what I've learned from him, whether it's playing or over the years having the conversations with him. I'll be honest with you, I feel like I barely even remember my playing days anymore. But there's certainly, the conference has changed. It used to be with Manhattanville and Kings Point over in Great Neck. Used to be at the top of that conference, and that's certainly changed over the years in terms of the teams that are involved. You'll always have, I guess, the Mount St. Vincent and Old Westbury that have been around, and St. Joe's, who has been around forever. But it's definitely different. I think honestly, I think the level is a little higher now than it was when I played. And there's not much to draw on, and I feel very very much removed from those days. But certainly the lessons that I learned from Coach are things that I'm able to use throughout my coaching, whether it was in high school level or now at the college level.
Well, congratulations on a terrific start. As we mentioned, 7-3, big game coming against Purchase in a rematch of the game played 6 days prior. As we've mentioned, coming up here, certainly love to see how the Maccabees do as you head into the break. Certainly congratulations on the 5-1 start in the Skyline as well. Certainly love to see schools like yourselves making headlines in Division III. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I think it's flattering for me certainly, and for our program to have the opportunity to get a little bit of a spotlight. Our guys are working hard, and our athletic department and our AD Joe Bednarsh have been extremely supportive of the program and what we're trying to build. And I think the opportunity to kind of get that message about the school out there is really tremendous. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Good luck the rest of the season, especially those 5 weeks off, as it were. And we'll look forward to talking to you soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Elliot Steinmetz joining us from Yeshiva. Certainly appreciate him taking the time to join us. When we come back, we wrap up the show and wrap up the 2014 side of the season, and we'll look forward to what we're expecting in the coming weeks over the holiday breaks. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. More Hoopsville right after this.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was scared and shy. It was hard to look at people's faces. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. I made friends and won lots of gold medals. But I learned more than just playing golf. Special Olympics helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.